Okay, welcome along to another behind the scenes where I try and work out the techniques that I want to show in next Monday's Music Monday. If you haven't liked and subscribed already, why not? So what I'd like to do is go through some of the basics of stereo fields and stereo imaging in Logic. So that's an interesting choice because this is the grandeur, and that is spread across the stereo field. So the lower notes are in the left, the higher notes are in the right. So you get a space just within that instrument. So that's an interesting one to think of. How about if we have something that is down the middle? So is this processed? Okay, so that is down the middle, pretty much. It does have some movement. It is pretty much down the middle. So while doing this, how did I manage to get that so wrong? Just wanted 4 beats. Tidy that up, because then it is easier to show the effect of panning this. So that is all in the left ear now. Just get rid of the metronome. And that is all in the right ear. But what you'll notice is the bass is louder when you've panned it to the left, and the treble is more noticeable when you pan it to the right. That is because often the way that the stereo pan works is it takes the stereo channel, and as you move it to the left, what it does is it brings down the right channel, and to move it to the right it brings down the left channel. So you only have what is left in the right or the left. Actually, that would be more obvious here, I think. Yeah. So how do you get around that problem? Well, instead of doing the balance, that literally is all it means, lowering one channel. If you do stereo pan, what this does is moves the right track further left and the left track further right as you pan it. Which gives a more natural sounding placement of the instrument. Remember, Alt click in Logic to reset to 0. So if I'm ever doing panning, I would always put it to stereo pan instead of just doing the somewhat cruder balance panning. Most of the time when you are panning instruments, the general rule is the vocals, the kick drum and the bass go down the centre and everything else you spread around. For an orchestra, that is slightly different, so that's probably worth showing, because most decent orchestra recordings or VSTs will already have these panned for you. So violin, let's go for the lead. This is already going to be panned to the left because that is where violin 1 leader sits, is to the left of the conductor as you look at the stage. So I haven't done any panning there and it's already to the left. And we go to cello leader. To the right, slightly, as you look at the conductor. Because that is how you would hear it in an actual stage. So a lot of instruments are pre-panned because of the way they've been recorded. That's great because you don't have to worry about it for setting it up for a natural sounding sound, but say you want the basses or the cello to come down the middle, that's when you need to think about, well, they would normally be to the right, I need to pan them slightly to the left, or you might have the options of doing different mixes. So if we turn off mix 1 and we turn on the close mics, let that load up, this will be, well, as it says, it's close to the actual instrument. So it doesn't have any bias for left or right. Because there's not enough time for the signal to get there. Similarly with outriggers and ambience. See if we can load these in. They're going to capture the sound from more around the entire room. So I suppose it's worth considering, first off, is your instrument already panned? Because you may not need to change it. You may want to change it for an effect, which can be useful. And I suppose the last thing to consider is, like with software, synth type instruments. It doesn't have to be synths, it could be anything. What should we try? So you could have a synth sound like that, which already has built-in width to it. But bear in mind you can process these sounds with stereo effects as well. Let's just record that in. And for example, you've got stereo delay. Which you can mess around with. And different frequencies that they respond to. That will give you different effects. Let's turn that off. The other more obvious one is a spreader. To widen it. We've also got stereo spread. So this is an interesting one. This can be applied to your entire mix actually. So if we put that on the master out, put the piano. No stereo spread. But what you will tend to find you will need to do is only spread the higher frequencies. The lower frequencies being split left and right tends not to make that much difference. So that's without. You put it on. You can hear it moving quite a lot within the stereo field. So that's a typical setting I might use on an output. Slightly lower the amplitude and have the lower frequencies at 0 spread. Anything else I've missed? Reverb, different beast in itself. I suppose the tremolo can give you a similar sort of effect because it's bouncing between left and right. If it's not in phase. And how harsh that is, controlled by the depth. That's another way to create stereo imaging. If you link them up together, it's going to pulse. Put them out of phase. There's another interesting effect. I think that's about it for things I would do for the basics of stereo. I suppose you've got stereo. Oh no, we've looked at stereo delay. Dynamics and EQ, not going to matter. Obviously, there are things like your fuzz bar and choruses, and that will give you a degree of stereo split, but I think that's probably enough to be going on for Monday. So I think I'll probably explain that some instruments are naturally spread like the piano from left to right. They are, quite close mic'd and left to right. Then we can go on to think about individual instruments for an orchestra that are positioned and recorded orchestrally. And then we've got effects that you can add your own stereo effects. Okay, there you go. There's my thoughts for how to create a video on Monday about stereo. Tune in then to see how it turns out. Sorry about the slightly sore throat today. Don't know what that's about. Like and subscribe, always appreciated. See you in the next one. Bye for now.